I'm so happy you are here, because by listening to these guys, by giving them attention, and just with a little push in their back, uh, they now say, hey, I am happy I was rescued, because now I can rebuilding my life, my future, my career. So thank you. You are here. You want to volunteer this program. A little training, not too deep, but just to give some background. I will cover some topics, and we will go through it pretty fast, because it's considered a refugee. When we talk about refugees, I'm sure you all have an image in mind. Someone was being forced to leave his her country because of war and natural disaster. But keep in mind that these people, humans, might have been a doctor, a teacher, a painter, developer, you name it. And often we forget that, and we focus on the image of the person who just escaped. And it's also one of the biggest challenge the refugees have, because they have a lot, but the first one is stigma. They don't want to be seen as victims. They want to be seen as refugees. They want to be seen as people with ambitions, with dreams, with talents. And they love to be heard, to be seen. And that's our role. That's where we can make impact and a difference. A second stigma is language, culture. I am in the Netherlands. Dutch is a really hard language, and fortunately, a lot of people speak a little bit English, or in my case, Danglish, so we can communicate. But imagine you left your country, you have to restart, don't speak the language, don't know the culture. You can help them with that. So be aware of this difference, help them with their language, and also have some patience to listen to them, to help them to share the story. Another easy one. A lot of them, when they are landed in the new country, get a sort of social network. The neighbors, someone at the language school, maybe some volunteers will help them with do some administration work, but they don't have a professional network. So how will you? We all know that the best way to find a job is via your network. But if you don't have a network, how will you do that? So there you also can very easily make a big difference for them. Yes, a lot of them have studied. Probably they didn't finish it because of the war. They don't took the certifications, diplomas with them. So don't focus on certifications, focus at skills, focus at experience, focus at ambitions. And yeah, for sure, there's a gap in employment. They flight. So instead of focusing what there is not, help them see perspective and what you and they can create. The sixth one is also important to keep in mind, that every country has his own regulations and rules. So keep in mind, how is the position in your country, in the country they are living, because that can change. Then they have positioned it, and you have helped them, you have coached them, and then they call you from, hey, wow, I'm I have an interview. I have a job interview. So what are the best practices for that? Also, not that rocket science. Make sure they feel safe. It's what we normally do with candidates, but now be extra focused to create that safe place. And for you, get to be vulnerable. How can you make them feel safe to share something about you, about your success stories, but also about your fears, about your struggle in your career, because then they don't feel alone anymore. And instead of talking, start asking, start sharing questions. Tell me about yourself. What do you know about our organization? What do you know about the organization who have invited you for the job interview? What do you expect of the job? And in that way, you help them to create their story, to share their story. Yes, this one, for me, it's so open door. It's not important why they left their country. Go to the bookstore and buy a book about people who have flight and have written a novel. There you can read the big tragedies, the great stories. Now it's coaching, empowering people. Treat them as a professional. Yeah, sometimes recruiters also have to say, hey, no, you're not the right candidate for this position. And then you have to reject them. That's not a problem. But also realize that you still can help them. As we already said, they don't have a professional network. Help them grow the network by introducing them to friends of yours, to colleagues of yours. Give feedback on their resume. Help them to reflect on the interview answers they give. And in this way, they learn. So next time, in the next job interview, they can present with more conviction. Yes, let's go on. The best onboard practices, because that's what we hope, that more and more talent with a refugee background is hired. But then the first day, how do you do that? Because it's scared. For the refugee, maybe also for you, the boss, or for the manager, or for the colleagues, because we get a new colleague in-house. Don't make it special. Make it human. Treat them as a professional. Treat them like any other person you would treat. Invite them, have a chat, ask what you can do, ask what they do think about their onboarding, plan the onboarding together, and in this way you will set a light on them, a spotlight on them as a professional, not as someone special, not as a refugee.
Mm-hmm.
The most important thing is enjoy the ride, because as Joy mentioned, I started in 2015. By coincidence, I quit my job in 2010 because I was working in the job placement market. But it felt like I only talk about the color and of the company car, the quantity and the quality of the incentives. I hated that, so I started to work for my own business as an independent. I started helping people with a big distance to the job market. There were ex-prostitutes, there were the elderly people. In 2015, I was invited for a cup of coffee by 4 refugees. And I was so surprised about their motivation, about their ambition, about their background as a professional. They say, hey, how is it possible that these guys don't find a job? There started my journey. And yes, till today, I have helped 687 refugees into a paid job. Every single refugee is a different story. And these different stories warm your heart, grow your network, and make you rich. So I wish you a lot of fun in your coaching sessions with the guys, the people you are going to meet. Thank you.
Eugene, wanted to add one point for this group in particular, because the training is geared towards a specific in-house recruiter, not necessarily someone who is lending their expertise to connect people to a potential hiring manager or someone else. Can you share what has been your most effective approach to, and also in many ways, you know, gap number 3, which is no professional network, has been, you know, is the biggest one for a refugee to get through. Can you share what's been your go-to approach that has worked in helping you place 678 refugees in jobs? Like, what do you do?
I realize for me, it feels and seems so easy. And it is, it is. What I do is I meet them shortly, because also my day has just 24 hours. And in a talk, mostly by video call, I listen to the story. What do you want? What do you want? What can you bring to the labor market? What do you want in the labor market? What are your fears? What is your conviction? Where do you want to stay in 5 or 10 years? And what do you need to come there? And in 95 of the 100 cases, I fall in love with the stories they share with me. And I want to share these stories. So I start sharing these stories in my network, among friends, on LinkedIn. I guess we all have a LinkedIn profile. I say, wow, today I met someone, really a great person with this talent, blah, 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 blah. Hey, who in this district wants to have a cup of coffee, a cup of tea with this person, and discover the possibilities. And then you bring something starting. People are going to react, people are going to share it, people say, hey, Eugene, I have some questions. And then I became the matchmaker. It starts by listening, helping, discovering the story, and sharing the story in your network. And it doesn't have to be a recruiter or a hiring manager. No, that's why I love our name, Just for Humanity. People, humans, wants to help another person. And we all know persons, we all have a network. And it's just, we are all busy and running, and busy. So take some time to help that one person by listening, sharing the story, and doing some follow-up in connecting the dots. And that's how you bring the magic.
Nice. And the 4 calls that we showed earlier per person are modeled around Eugene's approach, like call 1, get to know them, get to know their story so that you can share their story through your network, and then help them with their resume or LinkedIn profile so they can be professional. They get that homework, it comes back. You take a look at it, it looks good, last round of feedback in a second call, but then open up your network, ask people. In one case, a lady called Marina at Booking, she just posted on LinkedIn. It went viral because all her friends liked all the other recruiters, and I think the lady received the job from it. Actually, she had multiple offers thanks to that post. So it really does work. And so that combination of the two, and that's why we dedicated 2 sessions. So session number 2, warm intro, session number 3, follow up on warm intros, and then session number 4, interview coaching, and because chances are they're going to get interviews by then. And then if you feel like, continuing the conversation until they get a job, then wonderful, but at least, and you also get 2 candidates. In some cases, some may say, hey, sorry, I'm not interested anymore, or they may not reply, or they may be on vacation, or they may be running from something or to something, or whatever the case may be. So just ping Louis or I, and then we'll pair you with another job seeker. Without further ado, I'll share, here's our backend, Jobs for Humanity. These
Roy,
are the
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, and thank you to all of you for the super impressive testimonials. I'm really excited to be joining this group. Just have a question. Being based in the UK, I know that paperwork can be a major barrier for them to find a job because of visa and stuff. Is there a way? Of course, I will read further what can be the technical barriers, etc., etc. But if they are really stuck and they have nothing, through Jobs for Humanity, is there a way to give them some information, some tips, etc.? Or shall I do my homework and try and find some ideas, because I'm really not skilled at that?
Clemens, actually, the European Union and the UK as well, they have created special conditions for Ukrainian refugees in particular. So when they grant them it's not actually an asylum, as a temporary protection or something like that. I'm not sure exactly how it's called. I think in the EU it's called temporary protection. And people who get it, first of all, they receive it fairly easy and quickly, so they don't need to apply and wait them for months without being able to work. As soon as they arrive, they get it within a couple of weeks, and they are eligible to work for any employer with that specific permit that they get. So actually, that shouldn't be an issue for the majority of people who are already in Ukraine as refugees, because they're not technically refugees. I mean, they don't have the status of a refugee. They have this temporary protection.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good to hear. Thank you.
I didn't even know that either. Nice, good to know. And Olena, if you have any more info on this, do you mind sharing maybe in the LinkedIn group something?
Okay, yeah, I can share a couple of links, because there is definitely a European Union kind of website that I've seen with this specific information on how the whole process works. I think UK followed a very, very similar kind of approach, but I'll search if I can find something, I'll share.
Any other questions before I go into the candidate profiles? Okay, so we've got, so here in Jobs for Humanity, there are a little over 67,000 profiles. And then we ask every job seeker, would you like to be paired with a coach? And then I would say about 15,000 said, yes, I'd love to be coached. So there is more than enough job seekers from all over the world who have raised their hands. Literally, you can see here just about different country every time. However, in the specific program with booking, we have already paired 47 job seekers with 21 recruiters, each one getting 2. So you'll see 21 times 2 is 42, with 5 that dropped off. So, and here in our group is 1, 2, 3, 4, about like 5, 6 of us. I'm sure that 1 or 2 will join. By the end of the program, it'll be like, 7 or 8, then that'll be 16. And plus maybe 3 or 4 that will drop, or 5, because that's been a while that they've been waiting, like about a month. Then we're at about 21 of the 27. When we open that program, here, by the way, these filters, interview means they're already paired. In review, that means that I've already sent them a message to tell them that, hey, you're currently on the waiting list. just because it's first come, first serve, and you is anyone who just signs up through that link. And among the 27, even though we asked specifically for people in Ukraine, we've had people from everywhere actually reach out. But you'll see in one case, for example, Anastasia is in South Korea, Ayub is in the Netherlands, Lesia is in Kiev, Natalia is in London. So we can already see, I'm already imagining who would pair with whom, but that's just in my mind. But you'll notice here, I think they're all Ukrainian. I'm not sure about Michael Somonov, but if there's,
He's Ukrainian. Genesis is a Ukrainian company. It's a tech startup. Yeah.
And then a few so all of them are Ukrainian. A few at the bottom, you have someone from Pakistan, Felix. He lives in the Netherlands, but and then you have some people from, the rest of the world. This person in Armenia, and Egypt, and in India and Australia. So what I would love to check is, we also have the question under screening questions, where are you are you allowed to work? And under UK, only see one person, Natalia, who lives in London, UK. But the others, if they are Ukrainians and they would be granted the ability to work, then that also might facilitate things, just like you mentioned, Elena.
Yeah, because, I think it's a bit tricky, for example, because I'm Ukrainian, right? And if I'm looking for jobs outside, then it's a very frequent situation when there is a filter question that asks you, are you eligible to work in this location? And I know, because I'm an HR myself, that if I click no, I will be filtered out automatically, probably, right? So that's how the system works. However, it's a tricky question, because if I say yes, I'm kind of lying because I don't have it yet. But at the same time, what the employer is usually asking is not if I have a right to work, but whether they will have to apply for a visa for me as an employer, which they wouldn't need to do if I'm coming as a refugee. So this is a little bit tricky. And if you filter, people might also be saying, no, I don't have the right to work there, even though eventually they will be eligible if we help them to find a job at that location.
Yes. And keep in mind here, like as Jobs for Humanity, we are not the end employers. So we're asking these questions, we're not filtering anybody out. We're actually trying to match people in as much as possible. So that's the intent behind what we ask. So just wanted to, how does everyone feel with prioritizing one person who's in their closest or in their to or is in their country, and one person, we have a lot of people in Ukraine, one person who's in Ukraine, or if we can't get to, I think we can have definitely a person in Ukraine. How does that feel good, or would you like us to prioritize based on your skill set, for example, like your network is biggest in technology, product, design, marketing, sales, manufacturing? Any preferences?
For me, I'm in Ukraine right now, but only till Thursday. And then honestly, I don't even know where I will be in a foreseeable future. And especially when it comes to talking to people. And if there is a high chance I will be in Lithuania, and I don't think we have anyone there. So for me, it probably would make more sense to talk to people from Ukraine, maybe. Because I see there is quite a few in Netherlands, and you have some coaches from Netherlands. So I could pick up the people who are in Ukraine, because I'm coming here from time to time and potentially would be able to connect with them. But also based on my network, it also kind of makes sense to connect based on the skill set.
Do you have a preference in terms of field of work?
Well, I have seen someone like an employer branding, which is an HR kind of spectrum, but again, the person is in London, so maybe it's better for her to connect with Clemens, who's in London as well. I have generally quite a wide network of people, but Do they actually, when they apply, do they indicate what kind of coaching they would like or not really?
No, we haven't gotten to that level yet.
Because, for example, I've lived in several, like in 4 countries and in 3 continents. So, and I know that for many Ukrainians who have moved right now, there is a question of adaptation. That was one of the challenges, right? How to adapt to the new environment. And I have my personal story of adapting way too many times in different environments. So that is where my expertise could be helpful as well.
Okay. So maybe someone who's not in Ukraine.
Maybe
If
who's
you
not
have someone in Poland or someone in Hungary or so,
Yeah, and I lived in Hungary actually, so.
Okay. Okay, so let's prioritize that for you, Elena.
Okay, I can take someone from Hungary, for example.
I mean, I'll look for people who, like, maybe someone in Poland.
Yeah, Poland is good as well, because I probably will be going through Poland whenever I'm going. So.
Okay, and you got someone with your same name in Hungary?
I think I think those 2 people are probably married. Olena and Andrei.
Yeah, and Olena?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think they're a couple.
Do you want to take the couple?
I can take a couple. I think it would be probably easier for them if they work with the same coach. What do you think?
That's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Deal. Okay, Olena.
I'm looking at
I like the idea.
Candidates, and for me it doesn't really matter where they are. I noticed one person was a general director, and then there's that one lady, Vorobe Irina, she's business owner, and then I noticed there's one freelance copywriter, and a lot of my clients are either on executive level leadership, or they have their own business, or they're freelancers. So I think from that perspective, I guess that's where I would that would be a good fit. Though in general, similarly as what is her name, Michelle was saying, I coach in the way similar as Eugene was saying, that it's not like I'll tell them like do this, but really like coach them. So those would be my preference, but I'm not like fixed or locked.
And sorry, I couldn't follow properly, and maybe because my mind was really, taken by how am I going to remember who, and then I just open it tabs.
So there's for example, Lesia is managing director, so I've coached with a lot of people in that position. You can see and then there is that was her, and then where Olena chose that couple, close above those people, there was a like business owner at Coral Travel. So I work with a lot of travel owners, and then there was Olha, she's freelance copywriter, and I work with a lot of freelancers. So those could be potentially good fit.
Would you like 2 or 3?
I can start with 2.
Okay, so let's start with Lesia and Vorobe. You know what? Let's okay, and then we'll get to Olha.
Roy, would it help to you if we ourselves will write down the names of people who we are taking, so you don't need to remember all?
No worries, Olena. I'll make the intros right after. I've got you for the first 2, and then I've got Nikki for the next 2.
Okay, if you know your system, then that's fine.
Clémence, do you have a preference?
I'm really open. I think Natalia, because she's clearly based in London, probably a good fit. Hopefully we can meet in person at one point. And then given my background in network, because I recently switched to another career, but most of my connections are in tech marketing and comms. So anyone who is looking for some kind of marketing job, I think I would I should be able to support. Thinking of my network. Yeah. The only thing is I saw this guy would be a good fit. I also know you have many volunteers in the Netherlands, so I don't want to, I leave it to you, to decide.
Okay. I think best, but definitely a lot of people in the Netherlands too. So honestly, it's not a problem.
Yeah,
like if you have field fit, I'll see if there's anybody else. I'll scan to see if there's anyone else in marketing.
There is content. There was a content person, which is quiet. Oh, that's my person. Sorry.
No, but I think the guy above seems junior. I think he's looking for an internship, but that's fine. And you know, given my previous employer was Amazon, and they are building a big team in the Netherlands, so could be
Excellent. Parfait.
could be an easy connection, I guess.
Excellent.